I made a covenant with God in my youth, and I kept my part of that deal well until at a point in my adulthood when I began to feel this overwhelming pressure. I remember the question coming up again and again. Do you really think that God is going to kill you if you broke your part of the deal? As I sat back to ponder that poignant question, I remembered Eve sitting in the garden, enjoying God's diverse creation, when the serpent crept up to her to ask, "Did God really tell you not to eat any of these good fruits that He made and call them food?" "Oh no, not like that," Eve chipped in. "We can actually eat everything except that one in the middle. God said not to eat or touch it, or we will be dead." Liar! He is a liar, and he's selling you lies. That is the summary of whatever the serpent sold to Eve that fateful day. That what God said was not true. That what God said was not right. Like, how can you drop and die from eating one of all this creation He made for food and call them good? Tell me, how does that even make sense? And Eve lost her tongue. Her level of intelligence was no match for the slimy serpent's. The serpent convinced Eve that day. "Listen to me. You can touch and eat this fruit like any other fruit in the garden, and you will not fall over and die. No way!" He laughed out loud at the ridiculousness of that idea. And Eve was tickled. In fact, the serpent continued, "I'll let you in on a secret. God knows that the day you eat this particular fruit, you will be way better off than you are right now. Can you even imagine that? I know what y'all got right now is great, but can you just close your eyes for a minute and imagine life way better? You'll even become like gods in your own rights, knowing everything God knows, good and bad and in between. That is what God doesn't want you to enjoy. He wants to be the only God around, no competition. And that is why He doesn't want you eating that yummy thing. And that, if you ask me, is mean. God is mean for withholding this oh so yummy fruit from y'all. Wow, those enticing words aroused sleeping curiosity in Eve. So I too can be like God and know everything good and bad and in between. She turned her full gaze upon this fruit that had meant nothing all this while, and all of a sudden something came alive in her, an irresistible desire to do the forbidden, to push boundaries, to test God, to try the untried, to risk what unknown to her many angels have dared and failed. That fateful day that started out like any other in Eden, Eve reached out when she could no longer take her eyes off that fruit, plucked out one, took a bite, just one bite. Not bad, she mused as she munched. Adam, watching from the sides, noticed she didn't drop dead as they had feared. So when she turned around and extended the fruit to him, the man took a bite too. And too late, they realized the taste wasn't bad, but it wasn't even as great as it was made out by the serpent. Too late, they realized that although they didn't roll over and die, there was something more sinister going on. They were vulnerable. They were naked. And for the first time in their beautiful life, in that glorious paradise, Adam and Eve felt ashamed and started to learn the art of fixing themselves up and hiding from God. I don't know what your deal is with God, but I want to encourage you to think again before you throw away your convictions. They are not cheap as the enemy makes them out to be. They are part of the backbone of your walk of faith. Although, like Adam and Eve, you may not fall over and die for flinging them to the highest bidder, life may never be the same again, as Adam and Eve realized only too late. If you have made a deal with God and have concerns about it, the worst thing you can do is to go discuss it with an enemy who is out to get God through you. Go have a conversation with the one with whom you entered into that agreement. He is our Father, not a slave master, and He is kind and gracious. Don't let the enemy tell you who God is, because he is a liar and incapable of speaking truth. Here is a quote from my book titled Unlimited Life. Do not let the world that does not know God define God for you. Do not let the world tell you how to approach and walk with the God they do not even revere. Nobody can give you what they do not have. Each person will always give out of the abundance of what they have, not what they do not have. You cannot learn about God from those who hate Him. That was Eve's biggest mistake. She listened to the wrong person. Who are you listening to? And what kind of seeds are they sowing in your heart? Don't be careless like Eve. Guard your heart. You cannot learn God's word or His ways from an enemy who hates God and equally hates you, even though they are pretending to be friends. Nobody can love you more than God. If you have a problem with anything, there is no better person to take it to than the God who loves us so unconditionally that He died to show how much He cares for us. Today, we can learn from Eve's mistake. Before we get to the point of even to eat or not to eat, guard your heart and do not listen to the enemy. If Eve had recognized the serpent as the enemy and shunned it from the beginning, there wouldn't have been any discussion to create doubt about God and His word. If you will shut that door and silence the voice of the enemy today, in whatever area he's enticing you, the battle is half won. Then you can take it to God and let Him help you understand how to go about what you may not know how to deal with. God is our friend, not our enemy. God is our helper, not a thief who comes to steal and to kill and destroy. He is our Father. He's always there for us, not against us. He encourages us to bring every issue, every concern, every battle to Him. And He asks us to come with confidence, knowing that He is for us, not against us. If you will take those issues bugging you to Him today, God will make a clear path where there seems to be no way and provide direction that expels confusion so we can keep going strong from grace to grace instead of falling off as the enemy intends. My mission today is not to tell you to eat or not to eat, to keep honoring that conviction or to discard it, to question whether God will be mean enough to execute justice if you fail to comply with the terms of the deal, or if He will understand and back off. That is not my duty. That is between you and God. My call is to turn your focus back to the God who orders our steps in the path of light and life everlasting. God is enough for us. Anyone or anything that tells us otherwise is the voice of the enemy that must be silenced by every means, because our life and success depends on it. In your journal today, list all the deals you have with God that has come under attack. The convictions the enemy is enticing you to sell off. The red lines you are being tempted to cross. The limits you are being pressured to push. Go back to God with every one of them and trust Him to give you an answer of peace, because this God is our God, both now and forever, and He alone is qualified to be our guide from now even unto the end. We can trust Him. We should trust Him. We must trust Him. Check out the links and scriptures below for additional help. Feel free to share your thoughts and answers in the comments. Be inspired. You are a star, and it is your time to shine. Don't forget to subscribe and share this with family and friends. Jump in and join me in the next video still on this series of New Beginning to answer the question, do you play the blame game?